Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on February 18th, 2022 at approximately 4:31 a.m. PST. We have talked about a lot of things and this world is changing. Now, the reason I go back and forth over what I'm doing, just to be clear, is to demonstrate how changing your life can work because I'm in the middle of changing my own. Now, I returned to this world, to this lifetime, at this time, at this point, for one primary reason, and that is to spread a simple message. Okay, and the message being, working together, we can make this a better world for almost everybody. Now, this message has been tried. People have tried over the centuries to guide people down a better path. Sometimes it's become very convoluted. It's become very twisted. Yeah, we can go back as far as you'd like. You start off in Rome, okay, and in Rome, Romulus and Remus tried to correct the way the world was going. They tried giving it some semblance of direction. Now, it worked fine for the first little while. They managed to pull people together. Okay, and there's been times before that as well, by the way. But they tried to bring people together, tried to get them working in the same place. And the concept was great. But then somebody came in along after they put everything in place. And they organized it very well. Okay. But somebody got into power after they passed away. And they corrupted the system. Okay. They let greed and and self-motivation, self-prosperity outweigh the concept that was laid out in the first place. So when you think about it, the system was built properly. Well, unfortunately, what's happened is that system has become more and more corrupt. Corrupt as in twisted out of shape. Whether it's legal or illegal is not the concern I'm interested in. Okay, what I am interested in is that I was sent back here, okay, for one primary purpose. And that is to pass on this message and to help people get back on track. Now, it's been tried with going to the governments. Okay, governments, it didn't work. Of course, what you have there's an old saying that goes, absolute power corrupts, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. The reality of it is that fear is the motivator. Okay, you've got two emotions to work with. Love and fear. Now, love will motivate you to help people. It will motivate you to reach out and do for others. Okay, I would love to know what that high-pitched whine is, but fear causes you to try and control. Now, humans have evolved to an interesting situation. Fear that which you do not understand, that which you that which you fear, strive to control. That which you cannot control, strive to destroy. And that which you cannot destroy, fear. Now, the ironic part of that is when we talk about the government getting twisted, getting twisted out of shape from what it was originally intended. Okay, the government's not going away. If you don't trust me, which is great, don't. Do your own research. But there was a story written by Orson Welles called Animal Farm. If you want to see what happens when you just categorically overthrow a government with no backup plan in place, another government will evolve. Okay, anarchy is simply the pastime between peace. And rest assured, this world has not known peace in a very long time. So maybe we should call it this way. Anarchy is the position between governments, not peace. Okay. Now, if you turn things over, the system itself is right. Okay. Very much like the educational system is correct, but the people that are governing it, the people that are running it right now, are causing problems, and they're causing them because they were taught to cause them. Now, from that standpoint, okay, when a system collapses, people have to struggle to straighten things out again. Now, for me, it was very simple. Okay, I backed away from people a long time ago. I was looking into it. I found a booklet that I had written, and one day I'll put it in print. Okay, it is done in hard copy. I've got the soft copy for it. I've got to track it down again. But I have the whole book itself has shown me exactly where I came from, and bizarre as it sounds, I actually started becoming reclusive, getting away from people way back in elementary school. Okay, in all fairness, way back in childhood. But this world is ready to turn. We are at that turning point. In all fairness, I was not expecting to be sitting in this position at this time. Okay, I've avoided the spotlight for a very long time, and right now, with just under 200, possibly just over 200 followers at this point, subscribers, I'm not exactly in what we call the spotlight. But I find myself in an interesting situation. I've seen this happen because I remember past lives. Okay, I've seen this same pattern evolve many, many, many times. Okay, and therefore, I'm back again to do the same thing. To try to strive to get people to work together to make this a better world. Now, I only follow 3 laws to that effect. Be true to yourself first. Do unto others as you desire them to do unto you. And energy out, energy in. Those 3 laws are the only 3 I bother with. Now, if you take a look at any of the guidelines you follow, any of them at all, and compare them to those 3, I do believe you will find they fit in one of them. With this in mind, if you find one that doesn't, absolutely drop me a line in the comments below. Okay, because I would love to hear about it. I'm still looking to see if everything I've found is solidly pointing there, without a flaw. Thus far, I haven't found a discrepancy. I am pleased to say that I am seeing a lot of change happening. I hate that. Don't you just hate when you try and sneeze and decide you're not going to? Anyway, this is the live recording, meaning when I get done, I will double check the date on this and then post it as is. What I found is to change the way the world is going, we have to start with the individual. Okay, now one person is not going to change the world, but one person can initialize change. They can start it happening. And the way that works is you change the way you're dealing with your world, and that will affect the people around you. Well, I did the one thing I never expected to do, and I finally found peace of mind I think it might be 2 weeks ago now. I know where I'm standing, I know what I'm feeling, and I know why. Okay, with this in mind. Now, about a week ago, I ran into a problem. See, here's the thing. My life is a pretty simple one. But what I found is I found a couple of things to work with. And I'm sure you've got projects you put on hold for a very long time. For me, I put this one on hold. Okay. This one right here. When I was 15, I wrote a storyline. Okay. Now, the nice part about it is this title, Yldrbac, was originally, when I wrote the storyline, it was originally called Airnav. Okay, and what it did, but this was written back in when I was 15. Okay, I did nothing with it for the longest time. Life got in the way and I put it on hold. But the time has come to take a look at the things you've left behind that for whatever reason you still are trying to move forward with them. This particular book, okay, has now been put to print, in case you couldn't tell by the fact it's physical. Okay. But how I did that was by taking a look in the mirror and going, how is my life going? What do I desire? And what am I capable of altering? When you take a look at that and you really get a handle on your own life, when you really get a look at it and you take responsibility, that's when things start to change. Now, people make mistakes all the time. Okay, this is just a plain normal thing. And it is what's happening now, and this is what I was saying at the beginning. Oh, by the way, if you like the video, give us a thumbs up, do subscribe to the channel, and hit that little alert button to let you know when the next video comes out. I'm doing my best to be here once a day, at least once a day, and to get this sorted around. Now I'm going to deal with the book in another video. Okay, actually one specifically designed for it. But when you get a look in the mirror and you go, okay, this is what I'm content with, that's when things start to change. But you've got to get that feeling here in your heart. Okay, and very briefly, thought and change starts in the etheric plane. It starts with the soul. Okay, not with the mind, but with the soul. If you don't believe in the soul, that's okay. We can work with it this way. From there, it comes to your heart. You get an emotional drive, an emotional impetus, if you will, to make a change. Then it goes into the mind, where you figure out a functional fashion of making the change that you feel is necessary. Then you implement it. Now, for those of you that are looking at it going, no, all change starts in the mind, we can go there, but here's what happens. Let's say it starts in the mind, and you get told by umpteen dozen people that you've got to make a change, including telling yourself. Until you get that feeling in the heart, you're not going to start doing anything. You may play with it, you may take a step. Okay, but the odds of you actually getting it accomplished are pretty slim. So what's happening now is society is shifting. Now, we've been talking about this pandemic for 2 years. Okay, the ironic part of it is everything that people have talked about, it's doubling back. What they've been doing is trying to outrun Mother Nature. It's not going to happen. Every time mankind gets this idea they're going to outrun Mother Nature, it messes something up. Okay, take a look at way back in the late 60s, early 70s, maybe a little earlier, I don't know specifically, but take a look at the killer bee. Mankind tried to make a better bee than what nature already had. It didn't work out all that well. In case you're one of these people that are still dealing with that problem, it's not as big a problem now. But then that's because people figured out how to cope. It's the same with any illness, any modification. Mankind will evolve. Okay, fortunately, mankind is now looking at things, or at least this is what it appears, and I'm seeing more and more effort with people striving to help each other, which is a fantastic thing. But it is going to take time. Now, we're here now at a crossroads where you have to make a decision. Are you going to live in fear, or are you going to start living with the hope and the direction that you can succeed? Okay. Now, the neat part about it is you've got the capacity to do it. There is not a person, there's not an entity in existence that can be successful for you. You're the only one that can do it. And it's got to be done in the here and now. To this end, okay, I was writing the third book in this series, right? And the last week, I've been fighting with the same chapter. Well, I finally got a breakthrough with it, got it tied off. Now I can start moving forward properly in writing again. Okay, and make the headway I'm aiming for. But while I'm doing that, I've got other things I have to take care of as well. Same as you. If you've got a project that you put on hold, for whatever reason you put it on hold, now is the time to really take a look at it and go, is that a project that I desire to get done? Or is it a project that I no longer have an interest in? But it's got to be your decision. Now, I was talking to a gentleman the other day that has a very definitive, focused mind as to what he desires to do. About he's got this goal. He desires to go to work for himself, but he's in a stable job, right? Now, decisions on whether to go to work for somebody else or to go to work for yourself, that has to be a personal choice. Take a look at the world you've got. Now, if you're in a stable job, okay, the primary thing you have to focus on is whether or not you've got a stable home or a stable house. That means your finances have to be in order. Now, finance is just another way of bartering. So money is not the problem. But when you start putting money as a priority, when you start seeing money as, that's what I desire. Okay. Now, I've got a couple of goals in mind, and whether I ever get to them, I don't know. This one, I'm going to finish before I die. Okay, unless I die unexpectedly, but I've done that before and didn't hold well. I also have plans up here, and in all fairness, the superstructure is already in place for a massive healing center. Okay. I've already got the name of it of the center all worked out. I am no millionaire, but these changes are going to take time. And it's just one of those projects I've got on the side that I'm going, okay, I'm working towards it. But whether I get it done or not, I may end up being my legacy from that end is that somebody else gets to finish the job off and I end up laying the layout of it. But it's got a very definitive path on it to help heal. When I talk about healing, I'm talking about healing everybody. And we're talking the health, the education, the social interaction, even things like preserving nature and animals. The whole 9 yards is all tied under one roof. And the reality is that all things are connected. There is no question there from my standpoint at all. But it starts here. And in order to make that happen, I've got to go through the stuff, and it's the same as you. For you to change your life, you have to take a look at what you're hanging on to. What is holding you to the past? Because I'll give you an example. If you're striving to move into the future, if whether you're walking or driving doesn't matter. Okay, just picture what happens if your left leg. Let's say your left leg is your past, your right leg is the future. Now you're standing there and you're going to move into the future, so you pick that right leg up and you step forward, but don't move the back leg. Now, see what happens. See what you can imagine happening if you try and walk forward while your left leg is not moving. The same thing applies when you're driving. You're driving along, you're striving to get from point A to point B. Now, you've got a choice. You can look out the front window, okay, or you can look out the back one while you're driving forward. Now, do not do this. Don't even try this one because it doesn't work well. Okay. There are exceptions. I know of a couple of people whose senses are evolved to the point that they could probably do that, and I still recommend you don't do that. The point being, you have to look forward. The past is already written. You can't do a thing to change it. The present, that's where you get to take a look at what you're sitting on and decide, are you content? If you're content, this is great. If you're not, it's time to change things. but that gets done one step at a time. Okay, and I've mentioned multiple times, in order to facilitate this for other people, I've written a number of booklets to put the information in simple form where you can go back over it yourself. Now, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I'm not expecting phenomenal following here. In all fairness, a lot of what I record here really helps me get my own head on straight. Because the tools I offer here are the exact same tools I personally use. These are the same philosophies I live by. Now, this does not make me perfect. As a matter of fact, I can give a whole list of things I've done that were ineffective, things that I shouldn't have done, things that I, quite frankly, regret doing. But the fact that I regret them, that's a good thing. Can I go back and change them? Not a snowball's prayer. Okay, I have made mistakes, you've made mistakes. But I believe the best way it was ever put, when you start looking down on people for making their own mistakes, my personal opinion, it's the best way I ever heard it put, was let he who has not sinned cast the first stone. Meaning, if you're perfect, that's great. But there is this issue that virtually everybody has skeletons, has things in their past that are not good. That you've done that you shouldn't have done, that even you look at and go, well, that was kind of stupid. Okay. I mean, I know for an absolute fact, if somebody hadn't been watching out for me, I call it fact because I have no doubt in my mind about it. I was driving back from back east. Okay. And I was driving a fair distance. And, when I headed back, I was driving back from Ontario. Now, here was the stupid part. I was driving at over 120 kilometers an hour. Okay. Now, I don't know exactly offhand what that translation is, but I suspect somewhere around 90 miles an hour or so. Okay. Now, I was doing 120. I could not see the hood of my car. Okay, I couldn't see it. I was driving through a whiteout. Now, I know some of you have driven through conditions like that. I was doing over 120 in a whiteout. And all of a sudden, there was this great big clear patch. It just opened up for me. And the moment it did that, I saw a semi parked that was stopped across 4 lanes of traffic. Well, politely put, I swore. Right. Yanked hard to the right, went down off the road, passed on the outside of it, past a sign that said, soft shoulder. Came back up on the road. I missed the semi. Okay. I come back up on the road and back into a whiteout. Now, it looked like somebody had taken a cheese cutter and gone, and grabbed that whiteout and gone, you might want to see this. Okay. Had that chunk of area been missing, had that still been a whiteout, I'd have been dead. I wouldn't have known about it. Okay, until I got upstairs, but that's another story. Okay, so I know people get watched over, but it didn't stop me. It was much later that I ended up slowing down. And at this point, I now know exactly what I'm aiming for. So, where it comes to changing my life, I've got my office working reasonably. Okay, to a point that I'm content with. With you, take a look at where your life is. If you put a project on hold, it's time to look at it and go, can I get this started? But you've got to decide. You're going to have to be the one doing the work. But it's time to quit living in fear. It's time to quit living, to quit looking at people and going, oh, you've got a different religion, therefore you're wrong. You've got a different skin color, therefore you're a problem. The problem is here. Okay, that's where the problem is. You have been taught to fear virtually everything. Now, with this pandemic, has the government made mistakes? You bet. The one thing they did right, okay, that I'll tell you right off the bat, it makes total sense. When they started telling people, keep your distance, put a little bit of separation between you, it stands to reason. Even a fire, and this is why they do backburns in fires, in forest fires. If the virus can't get from one person to another, then you stand a better chance. Okay, then you stand a better chance of containing it. Unfortunately, everybody's talking about, there's another variant. Watch the evolution of grass. It does the same thing over a long time. But mutation, alteration, evolution is always happening. This was designed very specifically to happen. And the thing we have to remember is nobody, no extra race, no extra entity, is coming down to straighten out this mess. This mess we created, therefore it is up to us to straighten it out. And that starts right here. It starts by looking in your own life and taking responsibility for your own actions. Okay, by doing that, we can make this world better, but it's going to require communication, which is finally starting to happen. I'm noticing this a lot more recently, where people are focusing more on helping each other and supporting each other. This is critical. Okay, now I'm not telling you walk away from whatever church you're following or whatever temple. Stay with them. The social implications of staying with them is it gives you that sense of support that you require. Whether that's family, whether that's a religion, whether it's a support group, it doesn't matter. Okay? Whether it's your closest friends, that support group is imperative. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to bring this to a close here, and I am going to leave you with this. I'll be back again tomorrow. But until then, take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.